Welcome to the 5-year anniversary episode of the Your Marketing Mentor podcast. No, the Your Marketing Mentor podcast hasn't been around for 5 years, but me being your marketing mentor is 5 years old. I'm so excited. 50% of businesses never make it to this number. They never make it past their 5-year mark. And there's a lot of reasons why. But I wanted to share with you my kind of top 5 lessons that I've learned in 5 years of this business. Now, I've been a serial entrepreneur most of my life. I'm a 4th generation entrepreneur, as well as spending a lot of time in the corporate world. But this business in particular, I've really learned a lot of very valuable lessons that I thought I would share with you today in honor of our big 5th birthday. So let's dive right in. Number 1, hold on, I have notes. Do you like my sophisticated way of making notes? If you guys are just listening to this and not watching, it's a Post-it, and that's okay. That's how we keep notes, and I'm good with that. It doesn't have to be fancy, right? There you go. That's lesson 6. We'll say that first. It doesn't have to be fancy, right? You can just get it done. Just get it done. And actually that ties in with one of my points here in a little bit. All right. Number 1, most important thing I have learned in 5 years of business is strategy first. You have to understand what you're going to do, why you're going to do it, who you're talking to, what they need, and what you can offer them that's going to be so compelling that they're going to be willing to get off their couch and their wallet. If you have a business that you're trying to convince someone why they need to buy from you, it's not going to work. You have to have a compelling message and a compelling product that's going to force them to get off their couch and their wallet. So it can't be a problem that they just have, because everybody has a bunch of problems. If it's a problem that they have, but they don't know they have, forget it. It's not going to work. You're never going to make any money. It has to be a problem that they know that they have, that they're willing to get off their couch and their wallet. And I say that a lot, but it's an incredibly important distinction, because I think a lot of times we sell what we know people need, and that doesn't work. And so that's where our business strategy comes in first, and our marketing strategy. Who am I talking to? What do they need that they know that they need? And what products can I offer them that are really going to solve those problems? And how do I message it in a way that's going to kind of punch them in the gut, not literally, but punch them in the gut right away, so that they're like, oh my God, I need this in my life. Where do I sign up? And you have to start with all that strategy, because if you start creating content and it has no direction to it, and you don't know where you're driving people, it's not gonna work. You're gonna be frustrated. You're gonna spend a lot of time and a lot of money on what you don't need. If you don't know how to build a strategy, this is what I do. Give me a holler. We'll sit down and we'll write out an entire marketing strategy for you, so that you know that everything you're doing every single day is driving towards revenue. So that's my number 1 thing that I've learned in 5 years of business. The number 2 thing that I've learned in 5 years in business is creating processes that allow you to be consistent in your marketing. So we know that consistency is so important. We think that we're going to create one reel and it's going to go viral and we're going to make all this money and it's going to be great and we're going to be done. And that's just not how marketing works. It's about the same message over and over and over and over and over again. If you're getting sick of hearing yourself talk, you are doing it right. And a lot of people worry that they're going to annoy, their audience. And you might, that again, this is where our strategy comes in. But in general, if you start annoying people, it's probably because you're doing it right. And if they're annoyed, it's because you're not offering a product that they really need. And that's okay, right? If Aunt Marge wants to unfriend you because she doesn't want to hear about your business, like that's cool. Aunt Marge is never gonna buy from you, right? So it's okay. Consistency is everything. People need to hear your message at least 7 times. That's the old adage, right? That research is from a long time ago. Now they're saying up to 30 times. So that means that you have to say something 30 times before they're even willing to consider you. So that means staying consistent in your marketing in a strategic way, but every single day you have to be doing something. This is not I'm going to create 3 podcasts and be done. One of the things that I have found in my business is that it's cumulative, right? It's just like your bank account. You put in a penny today, you put in a penny tomorrow, and the next thing you know, by the end of the year, you've got money. But it takes a long game, and it takes a willingness to be consistent over time. Now, being consistent over time in your marketing can get exhausting and very challenging. That's why you want to have, one, a strategy that makes it easy for you so that you know what you're doing really works, but also creating systems that allow you to kind of rinse and repeat content so that you always have something to share, right? And so my favorite way of doing that is podcasting. And I can tell you that I started this podcast about a year ago, and it's my only thing that I use to market my business. So I have this, and I have another podcast that I do where I interview other people. It's called Heart of the Hustle. If you want to be a guest, let me know. I'll give you a month's worth of content. But this podcast is where I really share my marketing expertise with people. And then I will use this to give me 2 weeks worth of content. And that is a system, right? We have a system down. I have an editing team that edits it for me. We break it up into different pieces. It goes on a blog. It goes on an email. It goes on YouTube. It goes on all the podcasting places. It's going to give me lots of social content. But this, I have found podcasting to be the simplest system to maintain consistency. If that's something that you want to do, come join my podcast launch lab. We just started. If you're watching this when it's coming out, we're in October of 2025. We just started a class. The next class will be in early 2026. But I really believe in having some process for doing it. It could be that. It could be coming to, you could come to my office or even do it at home. You can come to my office for 90 minutes. We'll record a whole bunch of reels and you'll get content for a quarter. But you have to make it a part of your ongoing systems that you use to run your business. It has to be on your calendar. It has to be something that you know that you're doing and that's very structured. A lot of us entrepreneurs are ADHD and we love creating and let's do all this stuff, and processes drive us crazy. I am one of those people, full disclosure. But I realize the more that I'm willing to focus on my systems that allow me to be consistent, my business is so much easier and it grows so much faster. So I really, really encourage you to think about that. So number 3 lesson that I have learned in 5 years of business is ask for help. We cannot do this on our own. And while I love AI, ChatGPT and I are besties, it's only going to be as good as what you put into it. And so I still really believe in asking for help from real people who have been there before. So there's kind of 3 different buckets of help that I think about. One is asking your potential clients and your existing clients, hey guys, what do you need? Right? I'm working on my planning for the rest of next year, and I'm doing that today. I'm going to go out on all my groups and I'm going to send out an email to my base. I'm going to say, hey guys, what do you need in 2026? What are your biggest marketing hurdles? How can I support you? So that's one way of asking for help. You can sit in your office all day long and come up with great ideas, but it doesn't mean that there's something that people really need and that they're going to buy. So why not ask them? Ask them for help, right? Ask them for guidance. Ask them for support. I did this yesterday with one of my clients. I sent her, hey, here's what I'm thinking about offering in 2026. And she came back and was like, hey, what about this? And what about this? We worked on those together and I found those so valuable. Make sure you don't forget those in your offer. I'm like, okay, great. And I'll probably make gobs of money from that, just that one piece of feedback. So asking for help from your existing clients or your potential clients is incredibly important. The other type of help is getting people on your team. I know that you think you can't afford it, but the amount of time you spend on all the little crap that you don't like to do and that isn't in your zone of genius is taking away from your revenue. You can make more money in that time by staying in your zone of genius and selling and marketing and growing your business. At least for me, right? That's where I struggle the most, is sort of in spending time on like contracts. If you've ever worked with me, you know, it takes me a million years to send you a contract, and invoicing and like lead follow-up, like some of those administrative things I'm just not good at, right? What am I good at? I'm good at this, right? So let me hire someone who can help me to do all of those administrative tasks that I'm not good at, that I'm always going to put off, that are causing me stress, so that I can stay in my zone of genius. And I can tell you that in all of my businesses, when I start outsourcing a portion of my business, I always grow significantly. And this has happened to me over and over and over and over again. So look at the things that you do that are repeatable tasks that someone else can do, and find someone who's willing to do them. You don't have to hire someone who's making six figures, right? You can get an admin. I've been using Ninja VA and they're fantastic, right? Tell them I sent you. They're great. Like, you can find somebody and pay, $10 an hour or something like that. Incredibly talented, qualified people, and make sure you have systems, right, that help them. But it will change your life. And again, allow you to be in your zone of genius, which is where you're going to make more money. So asking for help falls in three buckets. One is asking your potential clients and your existing clients for advice. Two is hiring for all of those things that you're not good at, so that you can stay in your zone of genius, which is where you're more likely to be making revenue. And the third thing is to get a mentor, lots of mentors, a board of directors, people who you can go to that you trust, that are going to tell you the truth, that have the experience, right? We all need hype people in our lives, right? I have people who I'll call if I'm like, I'm having a bad day, right? And they'll be like, you're the best, you're awesome, don't worry about it, right? You're going to make all the money in the world, right? We need hype people, but we also need people who are going to tell us the truth. So we need people who we can go to and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, or, does that make sense for my business? Can you walk me through how this product is going to lead to business? Or can you help me walk through how this podcast, I have an idea of starting a podcast, how is it going to lead to business? And get somebody who's going to tell you the truth, who has been there, done that, and is super, super strategic, and is going to have your best interest in mind. Because we all need more people who are willing to tell us the truth, and finding those people is tough. I mean, I have mentors. I pay for mentorship all the time, because I need people who are willing to tell me the truth and not tell me how smart I am, right? So you want to find people who are smarter than you, who've been there, who can tell you how it is. So that's my third thing that I have learned in 5 years of business, is to ask for help. The fourth thing that I've learned in my 5 years in this business is there is always something to spend money on. Always. Always, always, always. And I have really struggled with this. I have cash flow, making sure that I'm not spending too much, right? There's always a great idea of what to spend. And if you're anything like me, that can always be a challenge, is staying on top of your expenses, understanding what's really working, understanding, do I really need this in order to make money? Or am I doing this because other people are doing it, or because somebody else who I think is cool? It all goes back to the strategy. And that's why strategy is always first. What are the fewest things that I need to buy in order to accomplish that strategy? Because there's always something new. There's always something shiny. It might be getting sold by me, full disclosure, right? I might be selling you something new and shiny. you want to always think, okay, what is the ROI, the return on investment of this thing, whatever it is for my business? I'll give you a good example. I recently bought a little tiny DJI. It's called a DJI Osmo 3. I love it. I'll put a link down below. And it was like $800. It was expensive. And I was like, I don't know. And, I have a lot of cameras already and I got to see. But I have this content creator who's on my team now. And God, it would be great to have her following me around and give me lots of extra content. And I bit the bullet and I bought it. I can tell you that I have used it for more client engagements. I have made well over 10 times that amount using that little thing because I was able to get into places where I couldn't before. It made my life much easier. It allowed me to have a content creator come with me without the big bulky camera and has been able to create all sorts of B-roll that I'm using to create a whole series of promotional videos for my new offers in 2026. So that was one of those things where I'm like, I know I'm going to be able to sell more having this thing, right? Sometimes we go to these conferences, and I was at a conference recently and it ended up just being this big sales thing, and people were dropping like $30,000 to be part of programs. And I think some of those programs are absolutely fantastic. But you want to make sure that you know that you can make at least $60,000 from the things that you learn in that program. And how long is it going to take to get that investment? And what does that look like? And what exactly are you going to get out of it? Because some of these programs are a little wishy-washy. And that's one thing that I try not to do in my programs. And you guys can hold me accountable to this. I want you to walk away with something really, really tangible, as well as the information that you need in order to be more strategic in your business and in your marketing. And so make sure that whatever the investments that you're making have a very clear ROI. Sometimes, I get asked a lot, like, can you tell me what the ROI is going to be if I do let's say your Reel and Ready program, where you come into my studio for 90 minutes and we make you a quarter's worth of content? Well, it depends, right? How often are you going to post them? Because I have a lot of people come in, they never post them. How are you going to post them? Do you have people on your social channels who are ready to buy, who want to see your message? What are you doing to increase your social channels to make sure that people are seeing all of those reels? Are you engaging in those platforms? So there's a lot more to it often. So again, it all comes back to strategy, but there's always something to spend money on. Make sure that you understand how that's going to make you money and you commit to doing the work and the follow through for the things that you buy, right? Don't buy things and then just let them sit on the shelf. Now, I have bought things that sit on the shelf. I am not perfect in this by any stretch of the imagination. There's a big thing over there, which is, actually in my garage, there's like a whole shelf and we call it the land of lost toys. And it is where I have bought all this like random camera gear that I thought I was going to change my life. And then I never used it. So I have done all of these things and made all of those mistakes. I've done the high ticket program that I got nothing out of. And so I totally, totally understand. But it's just something that in my 5 years of business, I've realized I need to be much better about. And the better I am about really, really understanding my numbers and really understanding the investment and what I can get out of it, the more successful I've been, the more my energy is aligned, and the better my bottom line is. So that's number 4 of things that I have learned in my business. And the 5th thing that I have learned in my 5 years of business is done is better than perfect. If you're not embarrassed by the videos that you did 3 years ago, you're not doing it right. What does that mean? That means that the videos I'm making right now, this video right here, I'm going to be embarrassed by in 3 years. And that's okay. That's how we do it, right? Done is better than perfect. You're not going to have it all figured out. All your ducks are not going to be in a row. You're not going to have the perfect system to launch something. You're never going to have the perfect hair. I've got this weird cowlick going on in my hair today. I tried to fix it like 4 times and it didn't work. But you know what? I got to get this podcast out. So I'm going to do it with a weird hair thing going on, right? I'm wearing yoga pants because I was like, hey, I need to get this done. Throw on a blazer, get it done. It's better than being perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. Now we can set up a strategy for you. So you have, like, let's say a really nice studio. So I can just turn on my lights, close my curtains, and I've got a really nice setup. I've got a closet full of blazers that I can throw on over yoga clothes and turn on the camera and show up and just start talking. So we can set you up for success, but it's never going to be perfect. You're always going to hate what you do. I mean, maybe not always. I've seen some things where I'm like, all right, I did a decent job. I did a decent job with that. One of my favorite tips in this done is better than perfect mentality is record it and post it and don't ever watch it again. I know a lot of people are like, well, I'm going to go back and edit it because I had that little, whatever. And I feel like maybe I moved around too much. And, I talked about my bangs being messed up and that was a bad idea. Who cares? Whatever. Don't. Obviously edit it if the dogs start barking and the doorbell rings and no one wants to stay on your podcast or whatever you're creating while you go and answer the door. But you don't need to go back and fix every little thing. You'll never create any content. Done is better than perfect. You can change it next time. You can update it next time. Walk into every situation going, this is the best I can do today. And done is better than perfect. And I'm going to be embarrassed about this in 3 years. And that's totally cool because every entrepreneur feels that way. And that's totally normal. Every professional actress feels that way. Everybody feels that way. They always, you just have to show up imperfectly and do the best you can. Done is better than perfect. One of my tips that I give a lot of my clients when it comes to this is give yourself time, like a certain amount of time that you're allowed to do something, especially like this video. I was like, okay, I'm giving myself an hour and that's it. I'm going to write my notes, right? I told you my little Post-it notes of what I'm going to say, right? I'd thought about it, of course, but I'm going to write down my Post-it notes. I'm going to get some prep going. I'm going to think about what I'm going to say. And then I'm going to turn on the camera and I'm going to go. And at 10:30, so I've got 13 more minutes. At 10:30, I'm done because I have to go do something else. Because we can get stuck in this let me just re-record that. I'll just re-record it. I didn't like the way my bangs looked. I said a lot of ums and ahs and, oh God, I shouldn't have shown people my Post-it. It just won't, you'll never get it out. You'll never get it out. So give yourself a certain amount of time, get it done in that amount of time, and then be done with it and never think about it again and move on to something else. Because if you keep spinning, trying to make something perfect, nothing will ever get out. And here's the thing, you can create the best piece of content ever. I have created life-saving content on this show and no one has seen it. Okay, maybe not life-saving, but maybe growing your business content. But you can create the greatest reel you've ever created in your life or the greatest podcast you'll ever create in your whole life. And you're going to post it on the day that Taylor Swift gets engaged and absolutely no one is doing anything on the internet except looking at Taylor Swift's engagement ring. And then you're screwed, right? That's okay. So you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket because you don't know often in digital marketing if somebody's going to definitely see it. There's lots of things you can do to make sure that it's seen. And I'm not saying that you don't do all of those things, but there are times where you will create great content that isn't going to get seen. And that's okay. You know what? You take pieces of that and you use it in the content that you're doing tomorrow. And then take other pieces and use it in the content that you do the next day. It's back to what I said in point number 2, which is creating repeatable systems for consistency. So done is better than perfect. Set a timer. Know you're going to be embarrassed by it someday. And that's totally cool. It's true for all of us. So I hope you enjoyed my 5th birthday podcast. I am so excited. I cannot wait to see what the next 5 years bring. I'm so excited to support all of you in growing your businesses with really great, authentic marketing that doesn't make you feel gross and like a sellout, and that you can do in a way that's repeatable and fun, and, you know, where you're just willing to show up and just help other people, because that's why we started these businesses, is to help other people. So if you're interested in hanging out with me, we can work on your strategy. We can work together on making reels for you. I've got my podcast launch lab. I have my own podcasting studio you can rent, which is in Plano, Texas, in the North Dallas-Fort Worth area. I actually have a podcast production company that you guys can utilize to create your podcast. Again, I love podcasts. So give me a holler, send me a DM, head over to my website. Any of the things, I would absolutely love to work with you and help you get to this giant goal of 5 years, which only 50% of businesses have the honor of achieving. So thank you so much.